are useful for their purpose, but they are no substitute for brains.
All right, here we go.
I have to say, well done, Ray. Well done. Well played, my adversary. Well played.
Phoenix isn't gay, but if he was, he'd pick Fremont.
Oh yeah, he'd be living down there with you in the bunker, man. Woo!
Once you go free, you always do the Z.
Like one day of not going to Duncan, and you could get a controller, a new Xbox, possibly even a cord.
And now, the two guys that took 2 years to fix their audio problems.
Welcome to BGFG episode 437. I'm your host, Chris Phoenix, and joining me, as always, my brother from another mother, Mr. Fremo Z. How are you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing fantastic.
That's phenomenal to hear.
Just ready to manage some democracy.
Yes, that's been big on our radar lately. Hell divers. It doesn't get old. It's just, the stuff that I love that game.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that more later.
My Xbox is not happy with me, but
Why would you do to your Xbox?
I've been PC gaming
Oh yeah, it's getting
right
jealous.
in front of it even.
You dirty, dirty bastard. All right, let's get to this week's news.
BGFG News. You heard it here third.
So first up in this week's news, Windows is losing Android apps. And I'm backing this one because it's about damn time this sort of shit happened. I am a firm believer that Android apps should stay on Android devices for the most part, and iOS apps should stay on iOS devices. I get the idea of so let me break it down for Apple first, because with Apple devices, if you want access to your shit, you go to iCloud.com and you log in there and you have access to all your stuff. I don't need apps on my Windows machine to give me access to Apple. Why are you doing that? You should have an Apple device. And in the same token, Android does make tablets. You can utilize one of those tablets. Or wasn't there a connector a while ago? I don't know if they still use it. I don't know. I don't think it's G Suite. But it was like an interface that you could use on your Windows machine that basically made it an Android.
BlueStacks.
Was it BlueStacks? I thought it just gave you the whole phone interface on your, kind of like what CarPlay does for Apple. But
Yeah.
so in my experience, I've only seen BlueStacks. I mean, there's other apps that could be downloaded and stuff, but I love BlueStacks because it reminds me of all the blue hairs that come to us that play ridiculous gambling games or some other mobile game on their laptop and can't live without it because it's a casino game or some shit than that. And then they purchase like a barely Windows tablet so they can get the same thing on a larger screen. Same thing with the Androids. Oh, I bought an Android tablet so I could play this casino game. I love this casino game. I appreciate the fact. Use your phone, okay? This technology, you don't need to be buying a computer to play your gambling game. Now that you're making any money. And then they'll sit there in front of me and make sure everything's downloaded. And you're not checking if there's Wi-Fi connectivity. You're not checking that your documents are there. You want to make sure that Casino Royale is there. You want to make sure that your match game is there. And it's downloaded all the packs that you purchased. That's your priority. You just spent $400 on this device. And that's your priority. Not productivity, not making sure that you can get on the web and make sure that your doctor's website works or anything. No, this is your priority. And now Windows 11 is losing official Android app support and losing the Amazon App Store. Amazon is all in as well. They're like, no, we need to stop this. We can't keep supporting this.
Yeah.
And if
It's just gonna be a nightmare for developers because it's gonna be 3 platforms they have to try and develop for now.
Agreed. It should make things more streamlined.
Actually, it'll be a nightmare for Windows because they're gonna have to start putting money into developers' pockets because nobody develops for Windows.
I don't think they're going to even have to worry about that. I think it's going to be a situation where they draw a line in the sand like Apple does. I think a lot of times Windows begrudgingly takes on Apple type policies. You know what I mean? Like Apple draws a line in the sand and says,
Yeah,
no,
but
you're
you
going
know
to
what I'm
buy
saying.
stuff.
I mean, like I mean, pick a game that was popular at one point on everything. Candy Crush.
There you go. That's a good one.
If you want to play Candy Crush and you don't have an Android phone or an Apple phone, you're not playing Candy Crush anymore.
I don't see the problem with that though.
I don't, as a consumer, as a user. I'm saying Microsoft. They have a problem now.
I don't see that it's their problem. Apple makes it very definitive that either you're going to be on iOS, their mobile app platform, or
Yeah,
you're going
but
to be on their Mac OS.
Microsoft wants to be in that market. They want to be in that venue because they're not making any money.
Then they shouldn't
No
have canceled.
ad revenue.
We've talked about it on the show before. They shouldn't have canceled their Windows platform for mobile. It was not a
No, they
bad
shouldn't have.
platform.
But it's going to come back, is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
I
They're
would-
going to have
okay.
to spend some money. They're going to have to spend some money to really push people towards being able to use a Windows phone, and which is going to be good for the market because they're going to
agree.
basically be giving them away to try and get in the market at this point. They're so far behind. The only way that they can successfully get a Windows phone out there is they're free.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that if they subsidize them correctly, look, they already own Nokia. Utilize the Nokia name, brand, and platform and toughness. I hate to say that, but toughness of the Nokia platform. Put your Windows, redevelop. Don't do the fucking tiles again. That was ludicrous. But the phone itself ran very well, even if you weren't a Windows
Well, they
person.
They did.
So they have until March of 2025 to get their shit together because that's when finally you won't, all the app stuff, all the Android app support will be gone in 2025. You're not going to be able to download stuff even now. Like they're putting a kibosh on downloading the Amazon App Store. Amazon was like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, it's gone. It's
Yeah.
gone. If you don't already have it, it's gone. It's not available to you. And the only people and the only thing they're supporting is what's currently out there for a year.
Right. And you'll have third-party choices and BlueStacks will still work, but I mean, it's in my experience, BlueStacks sucks. It doesn't work right all the time. It's not for mainstream. It's just something that's
It's
there.
glitchy.
Yeah, exactly. And
If you're putting it on a Windows machine for one particular purpose, you can get it to work fairly reliably. But if you're putting it on there to totally emulate Android, you're going to run into all kinds of issues.
and if we know Windows, there'll suddenly become a problem with BlueStacks toward March 2025, and there won't be any fix for it at all. It'll be disabled, and there's nothing you can do about it. And speaking of disabled shit that you can't do anything about, did you hear the news
We're
about?
about to go on a handicap rant.
Oh my God, that is so wrong.
Oh, that's gonna give me some hate mail.
Roku is disabling their TVs and streaming boxes. This is unbelievable. Until you consent to the new terms, your shit's a brick. It's not going to work at all.
I mean, it's theirs.
Okay, I don't disagree with that, but I should
The software that you're running is theirs. They can do what they want with it.
I agree.
I think
I
it's
agree.
I think it's kind of a dick move, which is why I like it. But
Look, their TVs. I've never been a fan of Roku. I don't know why. I love their controller. Their controller for the standalone box is really cool because especially if you live in a household where you watch TV when you go to bed with your significant other, you can't put in a pair of headphones and listen to it off the remote. There's a headphone jack in the remote, so that'll make it silent. So I do like their remote. Quick access to Netflix, quick access to a couple of other streaming services directly on the remote. But their interface itself, I don't like it. It doesn't work for me. And if you don't sign the dispute resolution terms, then your unit's not going to work. And I agree with Fremo, and you have to understand it from that point of view, that this is their product. All of it. So if you buy a Roku TV, regardless of whether it's made by TCL or fulfilled by Amazon, it's irrelevant because it's a Roku TV. And what this resolution terms does is it prevents lawsuits against Roku. And a lot of companies are doing this now, making arbitration agreements, which I find I can go either way on that because I get it. They don't want to go through a significant lawsuit, and the consumer definitely can't afford it. It's a no-win scenario. But I think the arbitration is always going to be leaning toward the company, like worse than any court of law will be.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like HR. If you think HR is there to look out for you at your company where you work, you're sadly mistaken. They're there to make sure the company doesn't get sued. So when you call up and bitch about your boss, they don't care. You call up and say your boss grabbed your crotch, yeah, they're going to care. They're going to get right on top of that. No pun intended. Well, maybe pun intended. But what this does is stop, you go through arbitration at that point. Once you go through arbitration, they basically are going to decide who's right, who's wrong. Most likely you're going to get like 3 months of free service, and that's going to be the end of it, regardless of what happened. The only way to opt out of these is to write a letter to Roku lawyers, which the link in the show notes, the guy did. Why you would do that, I have no idea. Your device is still going to be locked until you agree to the terms. So, yes, your TV is now a brick. Just get over it. You know what I mean? And look, everybody's
I just
selling.
don't use Roku.
I don't use Roku. I use an Apple TV on all my TVs. I like that, but that's for different reasons. There are a few places in the world anymore that you are not a commodity, and you're going to get spam. Like I've had people come up to the counter and be like, "I don't understand why I'm getting all this junk mail." Well, you signed up for something. No, I didn't. I didn't sign up for this. No, it's irrelevant. You signed up for.
When you wrote your name on that little piece of paper and your email address so they could contact you if you were the winner for the car sitting in the middle of the mall, you just gave half a bajillion people
Yes, you
your
did.
information.
Yes, you did.
Well, they didn't say nothing on the slip of paper. No, but the board next to the car that had like 47 lines of fine print at the very bottom that you didn't bother to read.
Right. And they're doing that.
You did.
You know who else is doing that now with the fine print bullshit? Is H&R Block and TurboTax.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. So now it's not bad enough that they soak you when you go there and do your taxes. So let me give you this quick service announcement from my wife, who does taxes on the side because she did it growing up for her uncles that are accountants. If you're a single person listening to the show and you have a job that pays you and you get a W-2, you do not need H&R Block or TurboTax. Go online, even at the IRS website, and just fill out the boxes according to what is on your W-2 slip.
Yeah.
Because they take like H&R Block especially. I remember back in the day, I mean, I would pay them like $300, $400. And I'm like, that's like a large portion of my return, buddy. Well, we're all set here. Well, you know when they say, we just have a few more things for you to sign. And you're just like, I want to get out of there. I'm going to get a rapid refund. I want to get it in like 3 days. I'm going to go buy a stereo for my car. I'm going to, live that day like a hog. I'm going to get all sorts of takeout. I'm going to, you had all those things in your mind when you were younger, right? Next thing you know, you completely gave away your information to share all your tax information. What the hell is this? It gives you, they're going to allow, if you sign the paper, which they're not going to tell you exactly, you're going to give details of your income, your student debt, your home mortgage. And make no mistake, this is how the government gets information on those things. So the government has access naturally to your taxes. So the government, of course, is going to know how much you get back, how much your student loan is. This is how they figure out all this shit, the income that you have. But the problem I have is giving it to third parties, which is what H&R Block and TurboTax is going to do. They're going to give it to third-party companies, which is the absolute worst possible scenario that you can. And those companies...
Especially with all the data breaches, because, it doesn't take much on the dark web for someone to piece together your entire life. I can guarantee you that.
Oh, yeah. And
if somebody wants to target you, there's nothing you're going to do to stop it.
Add in social media. One little mistake.
Yeah.
One little mistake that you left access to your two-factor authentication, and it's over. It's completely over because now they're going to just. I've seen it happen, and I look across at these people and they're like, "What do I do?" I'm like, "There is nothing you can do. Get a new phone, get a new
file your
phone number."
police reports
Yep.
so that you have something that you can go to whoever and say, "Look, I cannot be held liable. This was not me."
And don't think TurboTax and H&R Block are not getting kickbacks. Oh,
No.
they're absolutely getting
They're making
kickbacks.
money hand over fist for this stuff. Are you
Oh,
kidding me?
absolutely. And showing your refund, your salary, and anything else, they're giving it to that data broker. We've talked about this on the show before. For all the sheeple, data brokers are out there. They make massive amounts of money. A lot of the new millionaires are part of either crypto scams. I'm going to keep calling them scams. They're either part of crypto scams or they're part of data brokers. It's literally that simple. Fremo and I cannot express it to you any clearer. When you sign up, have the expectation that your information is going to be stolen. I shouldn't say stolen. Your information is going to be shared and sold. Yeah.
It's going to be sold.
And it's always about personal data. Like the show title is, you are the commodity. They want your email, your name, and your phone number. And with that, you're going to get spam. You're going to get emails that you don't want. You're going to get phone calls. You're going to get text
Why do they
messages.
do this, you ask? Because we are 100% brainwashed from birth in this country to be consumers.
Yeah.
So if they can bombard you with enough ads, you're gonna buy something.
I'm sitting at work at my new job, and I am literally watching a lot of YouTube all day while I'm doing break fix and other things. Because of certain situations, that's just the way my day rolls. And I cannot tell you the amount of ads that I'm watching that are make money quick, or this is the new thing that you need to get onto right now and invest in. And I'm like, really? Like, I already know I don't want to invest in that. Like, it's a no-win. And the reason why this guy with the muscle shirt on is telling me about how he needs to teach me a lesson on how to make money on Amazon is because he's already done it. It's saturated, and now he's going to sell a book telling me how to do it. And that's where he's going to make more money. So don't believe any of that shit. Just like Fremo brought up a good point this week, that he found a story where it's getting so bad. And malware is not always just vicious shit. Malware is also there to gain ads, to gain revenue, to gain money, to gain insights. And now we're looking at researchers that are creating an AI-powered malware. Kind of like if you remember the movie Red 2 with Bruce Willis, John Malkovich, and they created that weapon, that biological weapon, and they literally looked at the scientists and went, "Why would you even create something like this?"
Yeah.
Because that's what was asked. So now we have a cyber attack that literally can spread on its own. Now, for those in the Gen X group, we remember the early days of the computers. We remember when there would be a worm on your computer that would eat away at the data bytes on your drive slowly. That's old school. That's just ruining your hard drive, taking away sectors. This is on a whole nother level of that philosophy. And it's a worm that can use AI to attack email assistants to obtain sensitive data. Now, you might be thinking, because you're a boomer that decided to listen to the show, and you might be thinking, oh, I have an assistant. She's going to share my shit. No, you idiot. We're not talking about that. And why does your assistant have to be female all the time? Anyway, so what they mean is an email assistant is like, I don't know, Free. I think the easiest way to say it would be like a third-party email provider. Like you're not going to the website. You're using Thunderbird.
Yeah.
So if you're using like a Thunderbird to get your email, right? It's going out, it's getting the emails coming back, or you have filters in place or anything. That method, that Outlook, oh God, Outlook, you know what's going to happen there. So Outlook is going to get this message, think it's real, and then it can easily spread it by blasting out messages to other email. Now, we've seen phishing attacks before. If you work at a company, your company's probably going through, every once in a while you get an email that you're supposed to report because those phishing attempts happen. there, you know, the CEO sends you an email. We saw a breach. What was it? The laptop company that we
My
like.
favorite is when I get an email from somebody that I haven't talked to in like 15 years
Yeah, yeah,
telling me, "Oh, you've got to look at this," and I'm like, "Yep, I know what happened to them."
yeah, yeah. Or it's the CEO or your supervisor sending you an email that says, "Hey, look, I need the link for that Excel document. I'm about to go into a board meeting.
Yeah.
And our whole division depends on it." Now you're going to have something that's going to be sent out like that, and it's just going to be constantly perpetuating because of AI. And AI is going to learn from it and know what it can and can't do to get this access. The experiment was conducted in a closed environment, thankfully, but that doesn't mean it's not going to get out. You know, all you need is that one dude that missed his car payment that gets hit up on an email or on a text message that says, "Hey, look, man, if you
Not
give me
even
that
that,
code."
man. It's not even that. It's that one dude that is going to be sitting around somewhere one day, and he's going to get approached by some girl that has no business talking to him. What do you do? No, you don't. No, you don't.
That's
Prove
so
it. Show
cool.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the worst part about this malware is that when it gets sent to the next email client, so say if you're on Gmail and it gets sent to your grandma's AOL account, we should probably do that in reverse because you know the AOL people are going to be the ones that are infected first.
Yeah.
So your AOL email that grandma got, it's actually part of this AI malware. When you send it to like phoenixmediagroup.com or bgfgonline.com, any one of those email addresses, it's going to go there, and then instead of just having one email that you click on or you don't click on, or you put in spam or you delete, now it's going to say, "Oh, look, it's the server for the email for Phoenix Media Group. It's the server for email for Walmart. This is server for email for Bank of America." All of these things are now infected because it's just going to hit there and go, "Oh, look, a new playground," because it's AI. It's so unbelievably shitty. Why would you create this? It makes no sense. Oh, and and speaking of all that, lastly, it couldn't have happened to a better company this week. Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, which is their chat service, were all down this past Tuesday.
Yep.
This is rare for Meta, I have to say, being down as big as they are. It also seems very odd that this happened the same day that many states were holding elections. So, there's that. Just saying.
How did Super Tuesday end up?
I have no idea. I don't pay attention to that shit.
I don't either. I mean, that's why I just asked.
I have no idea.
Tuesday,
We have no
24.
control over anything. And I don't give a shit. You can send us all the hate mail you want. I don't care. If you think that your vote matters when you get to the local school to cast your vote, that's awesome. Really, I appreciate you going there and speaking your mind and picking the thing. But when it comes right down to it, and you look at the Electoral College, your vote really doesn't matter too much. So there's that, and I'm sure that's gonna definitely give me some hate mail. There's gonna be a bunch of younger people that are like, you're just not voting because you're. No, I'm not. Look, I know how it works. But Meta has already disabled political ads as well as state ads, and they're looking to get out of the news business, like the news tab that's on Facebook. Apparently, they're looking to get out of that by 2024. I wonder why. Could it be because there's a bunch of bullshit on it? And it's not even going to completely stop misinformation and fake news on those platforms. Because as we pointed out on the show before, the algorithm just keeps going upwards. If I post to my aunt, who's 85, an onion story, which is obviously fake, she thinks it's real and then sends it or puts it on her board or whatever the hell Facebook calls it. And all of her friends see it and then send it to all of their friends. That's how the algorithm works.
Yeah. You know what's scary? What you just talked about?
Yeah.
Don't think that AI malware won't be doing that before long.
What, misinformation?
No, jumping from post to post.
Oh, yeah. 100%. That's what it's designed to do.
because it can be embedded in images.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah. So you grab a
Oh.
little funny picture to put out there on your wall, and it's got this embedded in it.
Son of a bitch.
Everybody that clicks on that image, that post, boom, propagation.
Oh, and I see so much. Oh, that's so sad to hear. Well, on the Facebook and Instagram outage, it wasn't funny to see your buddy Elon take advantage of it and post some funny shit on his platform X. That was pretty
Well, I
good.
mean, what are you gonna do?
Meta didn't say
You
that they
gotta,
were.
you gotta rib the other guy when you get the chance.
Oh yeah, Meta didn't say that they were hacked, but it seems to be a whole lot of coincidence that this outage happened on Super Tuesday. I'm just saying.
It could have been Zuckerberg. He just flipped the switch and said, "No, I don't want nobody seeing what's actually happening out there." Click.
In unrelated news, Free, productivity jumped on Super Tuesday at all workplaces.
Right.
Oh, that's good shit.
Well, Grant, I guess I'll do some work today.
Right. I can't surf. I can't scroll. Oh, nothing annoys me more than when I see people, especially people I know and love, and they're just sitting there on their phone scrolling nonstop. It's like there is so much life going on. Like I loved taking a drive with my parents and just staring out the window for the whole drive.
I saw an article today that talking about the whole missing out on stuff. That they're basically saying that young kids, like less than the age of 5, are gonna have severe developmental issues because they're missing out on hearing over 1,000 words a day from adults because
Oh
they're
yeah.
doing this.
That story is coming up later on in the show.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yes, it is. You should probably check show notes. Oh, got him.
Where do you think I saw it from?
Oh, you're a liar.
Nah.
All right, let's get into this week's music. This week's music I picked for an interesting reason. So I'm going to go off on a wrestling tangent, I guess you could say, for a second. So back in the old days, there was the U.S. Express was a tag team. They were in the WWE for a short time, but they cut their teeth in the territories. And it was Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham. Now, Barry Windham comes from a wrestling family, Blackjack Windham. Barry was unbelievably good. They teamed up. They became best friends. And they're being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year in a couple of weeks in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. As well they should. Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham ended up coming and going out of WWE. Mike Rotundo was there, and he was known as IRS for those older wrestling fans. Now, Mike Rotunda had a son and he named him Windham after his best friend Barry Windham. So it was Windham Rotunda. Windham Rotunda ended up being Bray Wyatt. Probably one of the most charismatic wrestling people in the last decade, and died, unfortunately, a couple of years back. Just a legend from his Bray Wyatt character, which terrified me. Like, when I was a kid, Undertaker terrified me. Bray Wyatt, if you watch videos, if you don't know who that is, and you watch videos of Bray Wyatt, it terrified me. It was like a southern swamp person that would literally, like, cut you up. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to do a song this week in kind of like a hat tip, because if anybody was going to involve or induct Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham, it would have been Bray.
Right.
It definitely would have been him. So what I did was I found Live in Fear, which was Bray Wyatt's theme, which was awesome. So we're going to play that song. It's very good, very laid back.
I knew I'd seen and heard this. I just couldn't place it. So thank you for the backstory on that.
It's all the fireflies. So when he would come out and the song would play, all the lights in the arena would go dark, and everybody would hold up their cell phones. And they called it fireflies, and it was the coolest fucking thing. I saw it live once, and it was like you just stand there and you're like, it's so dark, and then you just see this one light coming out of the entranceway. Oh, it's so good. All right, so here's Marc Crozer, Live in Fear. We're going to catch you on the other side for some stick style and some other interesting news.
All right.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Great song. It really makes me happy that those two are going in the Wrestling Hall of Fame, and it makes me very sad that Wyndham's not here to see it, because Wyndham was a great guy inside and outside the ring. I don't recall anybody ever in any interviews, podcasts, literature, nobody ever said anything bad about him, ever, even when he was alive. Always helping people out. Yeah, so that's about it. So before we get into stick style, it's that time of the year and that time of the show, Free. I broke out the Modelo Especial because it's getting warmer. It's a little spring action.
I understand.
What are you drinking?
Water.
I find that so hard to believe. I'm drinking
Why?
tea. Yeah, I don't believe that for a second.
Okay.
All right, let's get into stick style.
Gaming.
So this week was the Xbox Partner Preview, which usually gives us some insight onto games that are coming out or are scheduled to come out, I should say. So first up, we have Final Fantasy. What is that? 14. Come on, it's Final Fantasy. It's 14. I've never played any of them. I don't care to, but they're popular. A lot of people like them. That's coming out.
I mean, I played. Which one was it? Maybe Final Fantasy 3.
Really? I didn't play any of
Like
them.
way back in. Well, I mean, on Nintendo.
Oh, sure.
You know, way back
I've
in
never-
the day.
I've never.
Might have
Kunitsu
been 2.
Gami, Path of the Goddess. It's a beautiful single-player game, third person, and it looks to be a fighter fantasy game. Really looks nice, very cool. Sinking City 2. It's a Lovecraftian horror survival. Big Box Dread, which is where you're a CEO and you see how many employees you can and continue to make your golden parachute. It's based on big box stores, just to let you know. Persona 3 Reload. That's from Sega. It's nice to see Sega still making games. Good for them.
Yeah.
Typical turn-based game with standard background music of a Sega game. That really unique background songs. Stalker, Legends of the Zone trilogy. It's a first-person shooter in a dystopian future. Go figure. But they're releasing all 3 games together. Unknown 9 Awakening from Bandai Namco. Woohoo! Good-looking game. Looks like you can bend and manipulate time. So if that's your thing, try that game. Tales of Kenzira Zhao. It's a side scroller. You have special abilities. Side scrollers aren't too bad. There's always good ones. I'm a personal fan of Cuphead. I think Cuphead's a great side scroller. That's not Mario. Roblox, they're adding Chucky because what else would you want to bring to kids in the game, right? Is Chucky. Because that's brilliant. Bring Chucky in there, you idiots. Creatures of Ava. You're taming creatures and saving the planet. I don't know why that genre is so popular. The training. I don't get that.
I mean, unless you're raising them for food, what's the point?
That's true. Oh, that's good shit. Monster Jam Showdown. It's fucking Monster Trucks free. Come on. It's Monster Trucks. I feel like we should be playing this. At least sometime we should try it. You might be sitting in your chair in front of your TV, but you're only going to need the edge.
Sunday.
Tickets available now. The Altars, adventure-based building and survival. You can create clones of yourself. This one was kind of cool. You create clones of yourself based on the changes of the decisions you made. So instead of backtracking like we do in Starfield, you make a choice and you go, oh, that was bad.
Can you imagine what like the 11th iteration of my clone would be like?
It couldn't be any more of a dick. The 11th clone is actually nice and kind.
No, I'm thinking more along the lines. He's like kicking open the door to the infirmary ward and just starts offing people.
It's awful. I thought it was great because when you make a choice that you don't like and you want to change it, you make another clone of yourself. So, as Fremo alluded to, you could be a nicer clone, or maybe this clone does better in farming. Like it's an interesting concept. I like to see some gameplay, and it looks good. The first Berserker, this just might be a good Xbox God of War hack and slash. Like it's got that potential.
Yeah, that one's piqued my interest for sure.
Yeah. Frostpunk 2, city survival and building game. We all know the Frostpunk. Sleight of Hand, which is a third-person stealth espionage game, which I don't think looks good at all. Most of these games will be on Game Pass. Check the link in the show notes for all the trailers as well as all the release dates. That'll be pretty cool. Next up, Who Lives in a Pineapple Under the Sea? Free.
Wait, I know this one.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
Patrick lives next door to him.
Yes. Tiny and yellow and porous is he.
SpongeBob.
So, yes, right. Xbox is releasing a SpongeBob Xbox.
Or
Like you
as
couldn't come up with a
they
better
kinda
idea.
called him up until recently, Bob.
Bob. There you go. It's exactly what you're thinking. SpongeBob as an Xbox, which I think is kind of cool. You get a controller too. If you were to get a controller tomorrow, Frey, what color, like what customization would you put on your controller? Would it be blue like your Begani?
I actually have a blue controller.
Well,
It's out in the living room. The one I use in here is just whatever came with the Xbox, the standard black one.
yeah. But if you had to pick one and customize it, what would you put on it?
I don't care. It doesn't change my gameplay.
Well, if you buy the SpongeBob Xbox, you're going to get a controller that's got all the SpongeBob characters on it, like a collage.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I see that.
I think for the people that are SpongeBob fans, and it really kind of, I just want to go out
I
there.
totally get it. You're not actually into gaming. You just want to look like you are. Get you a SpongeBob.
They're celebrating Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl 2. And it's on sale at Best Buy for $700. So get your SpongeBob fix if you fucking need it. I don't get that at all. That doesn't make. Moving on to some PC gaming news, because that's what we like. Microsoft aims to end upscaling wars. And again, we've talked about it on the show before. Microsoft is making good moves.
Mhm.
The last time we talked about it that we were really impressed was when they decided to do the RGB coloring inside the settings of your Microsoft Windows 11, which will take the place of the iQ software, the NZXT software, all the software that really sucks. Logitech software, Razors is the worst, Synapsys. It's going to take the place of all those and actually allow you to change the colors. This is more or less on the same thing. So NVIDIA has DLSS, Deep Learning Super Sampling. Using AI, it gives you more frames and a better looking game if you can't get those frames. So if you're only capable of 50 frames, it'll bump you up to 60. It'll make it look like it's a 60 frame game. AMD has FSR, Fidelity Super Resolution. Now, they do it a little bit different. They double the frame rate by using an algorithm that works on almost any GPU, which again is a huge step. Microsoft wants to end the whole battle by using something called DirectSR, which is Direct Super Resolution. And what they want to do is they don't want to compete with the other two. That's what they said. Doesn't sound like they don't want to compete with the other two.
Yeah.
But I don't believe they're going to charge for it. I think it's just going to be built into the system. So I don't know if they're going to work with or without it. So basically what it is that the idea is that the developers won't have to add DLSS or FSR to their games. It'll be hot baked. If you buy a Windows game or a game on the Microsoft Store or Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, it'll already be in there.
the simplest way to spell this out, I guess, is think of it this way. It doesn't matter which GPU you're rocking,
Right.
okay? The developers no longer have to code multiple solutions to cover
Into the game. Yeah.
all the different possible GPUs you're rocking. Now they just go directly to Microsoft's Direct SR and it interprets for you.
I think this is going to be good and bad.
So you just code you code the game using Direct SR, and Direct SR handles the translation to whatever GPU you're running, basically.
I think you're going to only see this. I think it's good because it's going to give, if it works that good or that well.
If it works the way I'm reading it,
Yeah.
it'll be fantastic.
And then it'll take but again, NVIDIA has come out in numerous times to say how important DLSS is. AMD is extremely proud of FSR. The only thing I think this is going to be beneficial for is Xbox platform game, not Xbox, but Microsoft's development in-house, where they're like, hey, look, just use what we have built in. A good example would be Flight Simulator. That's a Microsoft game.
That's what I'm saying. It depending on how they implement this, it could legit make it easier on developers because they're not having to try and write this really expansive code to cover what you may or may not have in your PC.
Right. Exactly. And I think I'm going to go ahead and say right now on our Stick Style segment that in the near future, you will see, because Intel Arc GPUs are still a thing. They're still good. I still want to build a computer with one. But there's no doubt in my mind that DirectX SR will be on those Intel Arcs or hot baked in.
Yeah.
I think that's where Microsoft's going to go because their partnership with Intel is way too strong to stop doing that. All right, let's talk about some classic games. Do you remember the old Star Wars Battlefront game?
No.
Oh, okay. So Battlefront 1 and 2 came out, I want to say, in the early aughts. And for Star Wars fans, they were just awesome. My kids played the shit out of them. That's the game that got me into a fight with Microsoft about one of my kids not being old enough to play the game.
Yeah.
It's a great game. Period. End of story. Even if you don't like Star Wars, it's still a great game. Galactic Conquest is going to be it's basically what we're doing in Helldivers right now. That was Galactic Conquest. And when you fought on the ground for these planets, it was just a melee. It was just a free-for-all. You know, the stormtroopers came into a town. You have to eradicate the stormtroopers or vice versa. And it's like 3 shots and they're dead. It's a fun game. Aspire did very well with their Tomb Raider reissues or the remasters, Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3. So they decided, what the fuck, we'll do Battlefront now. So they took the Battlefront 1 and 2 and they redid them. And it's called Star Wars Battlefield Collection. Everything's going to look better. They added 17 maps to Battlefront and 20 maps into Battlefront 2. Galactic Conquest for me is where it's at, and that's been updated. And the best part is that now you get multiplayer in these conquest battles or any battles. You get multiplayer for up to 64 people.
Yeah, that's tight.
Because the graphics aren't that expansive. The graphics aren't that big, so you can do that. This releases March 14th. And as you might have guessed, I've already pre-ordered it for the PlayStation and for the Xbox.
Can you run it through Steam?
Yeah, I believe it's going to be on Steam too, as well.
Because that would be a 64-player battle. I want to do some PC gaming on that.
Oh, it's fun. And then when you get special abilities, you can call in like a Jedi or a dark side laser sword user with the lightsaber. And they destroy everything on the map. Like you see them and you run the other way because there's no way that you're going to beat them. It takes like 14 people to shoot them constantly. Anyway, finally in gaming news, Dell dropped a bomb, and of course Clickbait grabbed it up and changed it all. And I feel bad, and I want to educate all of our people that they're not talking about your standard GPU. So a Dell executive stated that NVIDIA is working on a 1,000-watt GPU. Now, we already talked about, I've built computers for people that have 1,000-watt GPUs, PSUs, and they don't need them.
Yeah.
Because your card is like 400 watts, and then your processor might be another 100 watts. 800-watt PSU will get you by for the next 5-6 years without a problem. So 1,000-watt GPU was like, what the fuck? So of course I clicked on the link. I'm like, this is insane. We can't do this. We're frying people's computers now with the cabling that's running for the 4090. But I want to set the record straight for two reasons. First, this is more or less clickbait, plain and simple. And the second is they're not talking about the GPU you just put in your gaming rig. They're talking about their accelerator cards. And the accelerator cards are used for computing power, crunchy numbers, algorithms, Bitcoin, for lack of a better term. That's what these are for. And this is more power for AI. So that should make you a little nervous. 1,000-watt GPU running in a system to crunch numbers and attached to AI, that's not something I want to see.
Yeah.
That's what you got from me is yeah.
Well, I've since moved on because there was a Nokia ad on that page, so I'm actually reading about this Nokia stuff.
Cool. All right, let's get into for what it's worth.
Network as code is what I'm reading about.
Network as code.
Network as code.
Yeah, what? I
It's
mean,
a
I know
new
software
Nokia
as a
concept.
surface. What's this in a nutshell?
In a nutshell,
Yeah.
it's a concept for extreme simplification of network capabilities to enable applications to dynamically change the network to optimize performance and user experience.
Oh, that won't go wrong. That won't go wrong at all. Somebody, my youngest son flips that shit on, and now the rest of the house's network sucks. Because he's got all the power. That's bad. Let's go into for what it's worth. I didn't want to.
Network as code will help to monetize 5G era networks.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, let's get off this before I get really mad.
Yeah, it's starting to heat me up too. First up, in for what it's worth this week is I can go either way on this, so I have mixed feelings. This is the announcement of Dodge's all-new 2024 electric Charger. And I know people like our boy Fatal Fastlane is going to really not like this. But
This is a last-ditch effort to keep the Charger line around for a little bit longer. That's all this is. Because I'm telling you, EV's dead. Once hydrogen combustion takes off, EV's dead.
I don't disagree with you, and Dodge isn't fully in. So this, if you follow any of the Dodges, and I do love the Dodge muscle cars, I think they're really nailing it compared to the '60s. Like you have Ford, they have their cars. Chevy has their Camaros, but even Ford has gone. The Ford Mustang electric is like a SUV. It's just stupid. Chevy hasn't really gone down that route, but their Camaros are still substantial. Dodge, on the other hand, did like crazy shit. You got Redline, you got RT, you got Scat Pat. There's just a great amount of combustion engines. And then they came out with the Elephant, which is a massively cubic inched Hemi. So they did this thing this year in 2023 called Last Call. The last time you can order any of these special edition Redline cars. And they released a bunch of them, and they're all very, 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 very cool. Now, they announced that in 2024, they're going all electric with their Chargers. They're suspending the Challenger brand and just going with Charger. Now, I'm on the fence about this for a couple of reasons. There's two of them. The Daytona Scat Pack and the Daytona RT. The third one will be a six-pack. They call it a six-pack. And it's going to have, as Fremo already said, they're not going to go away from combustion completely. But what they did do is make it more efficient. They instead put a twin-turbo inline six called the Hurricane. That's going to be available next year. And it's going to be called the Dodge six-pack. Now, if you know anything about engines, the straight six is the same one that was in the Supra, and it made tremendous power. It was bulletproof.
Yeah, straight six is a freaking phenomenal engine.
Yeah. And now they're going to have a twin turbo tuned, and it's going to be great. But right now we're talking about the Scat Pat and the Daytona RT. No more Hemis. They're both going to be all-wheel drive, and the difference will be if you want speed or you want speed and torque or you want range. That's going to be the two differences. The Scat Pat pack will deliver 670 horsepower and 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds. The quarter-mile estimate for that car is 11 seconds at 134 miles per hour. Now, people are already pissed that you top it out at 134 miles per hour, but as somebody that's driven at 141 miles per hour, there is no fucking need. There's no need to go that fast. It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable, but there's really no need. You're not going to get up to that speed in most rural areas.
That's exactly where you get up to that speed is in rural areas. What are you talking about?
All right,
I had to test my car out when I got it, and
I did too.
had to let off at 160, but
I did. I got up to 100 and backed out. And the range on that car is going to be 260 miles for the electric car. The Daytona RT will have a 496 horsepower engine, 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, but the range is going to be 317 miles. Now, the two things that caught me was the external styling.
I'm just going to say it right now. I'm sorry. The only thing an electric vehicle is good for is driving around town.
I don't disagree.
You can't road trip with it unless you're planning on stopping for a day every time you have to charge.
Well, that's one of the things that this car does. This car will automatically tell you where the next charging station is, especially when it gets low.
Yeah.
But that could be few and far between.
Okay, let me just lay out the Phoenix Fremo road trip, EV road trip. All right, we're fully charged. Let's go. Fantastic. Let's hit the convenience store and the liquor store on the way out of town. Awesome.
Hell yeah.
Hey, let's go this way. Yeah, that sounds great. Shut up, car. We don't care where the next charging station is. We got plenty of time to figure this out. Where the F are we, and how are we going to charge this thing?
Yeah, not going to get it done. I mean, there's obviously options. I've heard about portable charging, like mini stations you can keep in the trunk. But again, you're going to walk up to somebody's house and go, hey, can I use your 220 voltage?
Yeah, good luck finding a 220 on a residential home.
Why not? I have a 220.
For your dryer.
Correct. That's what I'm going to be plugging it into. Yeah, just send me the bill. That'll be fine. Good luck with that. So the two things that intrigued me on this. The first thing is the exterior. So if you remember and you watch Fast and the Furious, Dominic Toretto's Chargers that he constantly gets, the 60s Chargers, the hood and the front fenders definitely have that feel to it. But what really caught me was the side of the car, where the door and the rear window are, the rear side window. It definitely has that bevel, that horizontal level bevel that the old Chargers used to have. So the styling is definitely there. As for the interior, I was very impressed with the interior. A lot of times when you see these concept cars at the shows, you'll see all these lights and everything else. Then when the car actually comes out, none of that shit's in there. It's got your basic dash. There's no leather in it or anything. They didn't do that. They actually kept it like that. So it's got this interesting lighting inside of it. But okay. So you get a traditional key fob, but you can also use your smartphone to start the car, which is, I always found that interesting and great. And you can unlock the car like that. You can check or turn on just about anything from the phone.
That was developed just so people could steal your car easier.
Oh, it's also true.
I mean, the whole key fob thing was kind of a bummer for car thieves because it's like if the fob ain't present, then they've got to go through all these extra steps to get it running. Not now.
No, just get the yeah. So what impressed me also about the interior,
hack your phone and done.
If you look at the interior pictures, especially the ones we posted right now on the show, on the live show, that this is what really interests me. Because again, I'm a firm believer that regardless of what your outside of your car looks like, you're sitting in the car. So if the interior doesn't agree with you, I think everything else is irrelevant. I want to sound, I want to feel, and I want a good interior that is comfortable and informational, I guess, for lack of a better term. This one is going to have a 16-inch gauge cluster that's an entire LCD panel that you can put pretty much anything on. And it's only usually what happens with these situations is that you'll have different options for gauges. Like you'll have a 69 charger gauge, you'll have a 72 charger gauge. You can have all these different options, which I really enjoy. Then you have a 12.3-inch center LCD panel for everything else. CarPlay, Android Play, Uconnect 5. All of this is going to be built in. But the thing that everybody's really talking about right now... Oh, and one more thing. So if you look at the center console of this car, it is absolutely designed like that weird-ass 60s Charger had, where it was like a glove box, and then it was like this weird half thing. And they do have what looks to be a variation, like a future variation of the pistol grip shifter, which I think is phenomenal. Of course, it's not going to be a natural manual shifter, but it does have the shape of that. It'd be nice to see them come out with an option that's actually a pistol grip. If not aftermarket, I'm pretty confident we'll do something like that. The interior really, really, really made me happy. But what everybody's talking about is this new thing
Only
called...
thing I can't get by on the side profile is the door, how short the door is.
No, the door, that's deceptive. The door is really long. It's not short. The door is longer than you think.
You know what I'm saying, though? The back of the door
I do.
should be closer to the rear wheel.
It's,
I mean, it looks like it's the appropriate length, but it's shifted forward.
yes, I know.
just-
I know exactly what you're saying, but the wheelbase.
Squint a little
No,
bit,
don't
it's
squint.
okay,
The
but-
wheelbase of the car is longer than you think, so therefore the door is longer than you think.
Well, I have no doubts about that. It just
And here's an
it's
interesting.
shifted too far forward.
Well, here's an interesting fact. The reason why that chassis, that wheelbase is so long, because they have a 2-door and a 4-door model of it. Same car, but you can get it in 2-door or 4-door. But the wheelbase doesn't
which
change.
is a problem. The Charger never should have been brought back as a 4-door.
It was originally brought back as a 4-door. Which
Hence
is why,
what I just said.
right,
It
which
never
is-
should have been brought back as a
did.
4-door.
But now you can get a 2-door, you asshat. Now you get a 2-door. But what everybody's talking about is the Fratzonic chambered exhaust, which I think is an interesting concept for us geeks. What is an exhaust note? An exhaust note is simply air pushing out of an exhaust. That's all it is. If you could take air coming from the front of the car and run it through chambers, you can get that sound. You can also replicate that sound in other ways. So what they're actually doing is using, like, for lack of a better term, speakers, both inside and outside the car, that will manufacture a sound. Now, right now, they have put in for the demonstration that they used at the auto show, they put in a Hemi sound. And apparently the decibels of this car are louder than the actual Hemi car. Now, the one thing I did notice that when they demonstrated this, it sounded great. But that kickdown, the kickdown when you let your foot off the gas after you pump it a couple of times, that kickdown wasn't quite there. Because the kickdown happens on a combustion engine, which is the valves and the cylinders slowing down. With a computer, the computer goes, oh, it's slowing down. Like you don't get popping, you don't get like you don't get that delayed sound. That's the only fault. Sounding when it's driving off sounds phenomenal. I can't wait to see it because again, it's all digital. So there's very good possibility that you can add not only different sounds from different cars of different eras, but you're going to have third-party companies like Borla come out with their own. If you go to if you download Borla's exhaust app, you can put your car in and you can design your own exhaust. And you can hit a button and it will tell you exactly, you can listen and hear how that exhaust is going to sound on your vehicle, which I think is phenomenal. That is not even a far cry. Fibra will tell you from programming That is absolutely. If you could do that in an app to tell me what my car's going to sound like with a Borla exhaust system on it, with glass packs, I don't know, then there's no doubt that you could put that into this car. Would you agree? Where'd you go? He left me. That bastard. Where the hell did he go? Hold on. Where the hell is he? I lost Fremo. That's not good.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get...
All right. So Fremo had to step away, I can only assume. There is rumors that you could possibly be able to pick up which older Dodge you want it to sound like, which I think is incredible. Let's go over here. And it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. So, as Fremo alluded to before, and I wish he was here to hear this, Fremo's alluding to screen time that's being robbed by our kids. Oh, it's going to look terrible for video. So I've seen this firsthand on multiple levels. Let me start by saying that the Journal of American Medicine Pediatrics stated that a study showed that putting toddlers in front of a screen is, like Fremo said, is robbing them of hearing and learning around 1,000 words a day. That's not good. In turn, they're not able to speak the words that we heard mimicking growing up, which is also very, very peculiar. Because when you think about it, you say things like "mama." You say even people that drop an F-bomb. Your kid replicates it because they heard it from you. So this is right along those same lines. They learn a lot of words and stuff from what they're hearing from us. This is astounding, but not surprising. And let me give you 3 examples. First would be my autistic child. So an iPad was clutch for him, just clutch, because that's the way an autistic mind works. It's their window to the world and everything else at the time. And I've dealt with a lot of repairs that were just purely for autistic children, and I would push them through quicker as best as I could because I know it's a time thing. I know with my son, it was just one of those things that's like, it's not that, oh, I got to interact with them. That's not it at all. It's that they don't want anything else but that because an autistic child's mind is very black and white. This is what they use to what they feel is communicate with the world. Now, if you have also something like a nonverbal autistic child, this is all they have. There's programs out there, albeit expensive, ridiculously expensive programs. But most of the time, these are things that are definitely one of those situations where it's just, this is their only option. It's all they have. And I, because of the varying levels of autism, there are some nonverbal that this might be the only way that they can express themselves. So having that iPad is very important. Next would be something like my daughter. She's made sure that my granddaughter spends no time on an iPad or an iPhone, or any phone for that matter. And she does watch TV, but in short spurts and only educational programs, which is, again, clutch. I've seen it firsthand, and I consider myself a good parent, that I made sure that my kids had a lot of things available to them, a lot of STEM stuff, a lot of Baby Einstein, things like that. I interacted with them a lot. I don't feel... I feel that my oldest daughter, went way over, which is great. Let me get Fremo back in here.
All right.
What happened? You broke.
Yeah, my network just completely dumped. Just shut
That
off.
sucked. Yeah, your video's still not on, but that's all good. We can still hear you. There you go.
There we go.
All right, so I'll start this.
I went and investigated and figured out the problem.
Um,
Ezra was crawling around. And he's
Oh,
like, "Oh, what is this?" Boop.
let me unplug that shit real quick.
He unplugged the power strip running the router and the modem.
So what I started talking about was the screen time issue that you alluded to before. So let me reiterate that I've seen this firsthand, Free. The screen time issue. What do you point to that?
It happens here.
Oh, right. But I've seen it on multiple levels, and what I was telling the folks, the listeners, is that the first thing that I would bring up is my autistic child. This was their window to the world. This was something they could not live without because they're autistic. And my son's verbal. So it was just a matter of him losing himself into a Lego game. It wasn't even videos. It was games. It was just things for him to touch and move upon and then show us things that he achieved. Nonverbal autistic children, because, of course, autistic families all band together. And at work, when I would see an autistic child come in that needed their iPad, I was all about that, and I did everything I can to get that facilitated for them. But when you're nonverbal, the iPad is clutch. We've talked about on the show before that it's ridiculous that you have to pay like $3,000 for an app for an autistic child to be able to verbalize different things. I would love to meet that developer, and I would literally, having an autistic child, if I ever met those developers, I would probably punch them in the face, dead up.
Yeah, I'd give him some nonverbal.
yeah, exactly. Give them some nonverbal, because that's a dick move, man. These kids, this is how they're talking. They're nonverbal. And the reason why autistic kids go mental, as people say, and destroy things and shit, is because they're nonverbal and they can't express what they're saying. By doing this, they're able to express that stuff, which is key. So that was the first example I made. The second example I made was my daughter, my oldest daughter. She's making sure that my grandchild is not on an iPad or any sort of phone. She does watch TV, but it's in short spurts, and it's only educational programs, which I commend tremendously. I think of myself as
I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with. I mean, you did it, I did it. We sat in front of the TV when we came home.
That's how we learned that you can't drop it. That's how we learned that you can't drop an anvil on your brother.
Right. So there's it's not an issue of using them or not using them. It's an issue of being a parent. Okay.
Agreed.
Which, the challenges of being a parent 30 years ago are different than they were 60 years ago, 90 years, 200 years ago. But you still have to be a parent. I think having a tablet like Makai, my one grandson, he can pick up. It doesn't matter if it's freaking Apple or Android. He picks it up. He does what he wants to do. He's learned a lot, tons of stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't just leave him with it. We're right there interacting with him. We're playing, games with him on the iPad. He doesn't get it to carry it around all day long and just ignore people, But so it's been phenomenal from the standpoint that he dude's not even 3, and he can name all the dinosaurs. He can tell you every character of every this, that, and the other. I mean, he just a massive amount of information that he's ingested from having that, but only because the parents
were involved.
Have sat down with him and gone through all that.
Right.
It'd be completely different if they just handed it to him and then never,
right, which was
interacted with him in regards to what he's learning.
Right, which brings me to my third example, is that people that I see.
I gotta ask, man, what did you say to her for her to thump you like that?
Oh, my head? Yeah, I don't know what the hell this is.
I've been trying to ignore it, but I can't do it.
No, you can't. It's like dry skin. It's not a pimple or anything. It's just dry skin and it's red. And it itches.
Well, from here, it looks like someone gave you a nice little
thump.
knuckle.
Right. But a lot of these things are
I have a mole?
Throwback to Richard. God rest his soul. But one of the third example would be some of the people I see on the day-to-day job. One stands out the most. A couple came in with a broken iPad. The youngest boy, maybe 4, starts acting up. And the mom simply hands her his phone. He shuts right up and sits down. You're not even paying attention to what he's looking at or what he's doing. The daughter, maybe 11 or 12, was the owner of the iPad. And as I explained the process of repairing it and replacing it and sending it out and shit, and that she'd be without it for like 3 days to a week, she starts to cry. Like uncontrollably, right?
Yeah.
The mother starts to plan on buying another one and utilizing our return policy to bring it back when the repair's done. That way her daughter has something. Like, are you that disconnected? I was not, I'm not going to sit here and say that I wasn't the best parent, but I was a good parent. And I used Baby Einstein. I interacted with my kids. I sat there with them. They did not exactly have iPads or iPhones. Now, again, like Fremo said, different time and tide. They weren't readily available. But I sure as hell wasn't going to give my phone to my kids. That just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Did you sit them in front of a TV like we did? Sure. You sit them. But I made sure that it was like Baby Einstein. It was something educational, even if it drove me fucking crazy like Barney. I would at least put something on that wasn't like complete trash. I asked if she uses the iPad for school, and she said no. She does Insta and TikTok and YouTube. I'm like, holy shit. This kid, this reminds me of another child that came in with her mother. Her mother needed her phone repaired. And the kid is making TikTok videos and posing and shit right in front of me. The girl could not have been older than 10. Are you fucking serious right now, people? I'm sorry, but you're shitty parents. I don't care how busy you are. That's irrelevant. That is irrelevant how busy you are. You're never too busy to take care of your kid. If that's the case, you shouldn't have had a kid.
Yeah.
I get it.
Kids, unfortunately, kids in this generation at this point in time are an accessory.
I don't disagree because the father is sitting over there on the side, just scrolling through his phone nonstop. Who only knows what he's looking at? I know at my karate school, because I have access, because I gave everybody free access to the internet, I can also monitor that said internet. And this guy, a father who didn't watch his two kids that were on my karate floor as I'm teaching them martial arts, is strolling through Facebook, Instagram. He's looking at girl pictures. Like, are you fucking serious right now? Like, that's not a thing. Like, be a parent.
We the last time we went to dinner together, and we're intentional. Like, we're very intentional. Like, we don't even bring the phones to the dinner table at the house, right? So
I don't allow.
We go out
when we have family dinner, you're not allowed.
And no, none of us have our phones out, and we're sitting there talking and laughing. And I noticed, like, out of the corner of my eye, that these people, like, not right next to us, but like there was an empty table between us and their booth.
Yeah.
And I could see, like, the guy getting annoyed
because you're loud.
Well, I mean, but we're not even being loud per se.
Just
we're just
enjoying.
talking normally, but there's a couple different conversations going on, right?
Yeah.
Which, 20 years ago, nobody would have paid any attention to it because they would have all been having their own conversations.
Yep.
But we're sitting there and we're talking, and I can see him he keeps. So of course I was like, I didn't care who else heard it, and I was like, I just want to tell everybody at the table how much I appreciate the fact that we're all interacting and we're not sitting here like everybody else in here staring at a phone, missing out on life.
Right.
I mean, definitely loud enough for him to hear.
Like, I agree with you. That doesn't make sense. If you're out with your significant other and you're out on a date night or something, and you're in there having dinner, like, why are you on your phones? You should be talking to each other. You should be enjoying each other's company, discussing the terms of the day, what you want to do tonight, 100 different things instead of being on your friggin' phones. That's just something that's and our kids are suffering from it, Free. Our kids are suffering because of this. Grades and basic knowledge are completely missing. You've talked about it before. You've actually called people out on it.
Oh, yeah.
Our country is having a problem finding 8th graders that can read people.
I literally had to tell someone the other day. First, she looked confused because I paid with cash. And then I had to tell her which coins to give me back.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. They can't do basic
She was
math.
looking. She's like looking. It was like $2.60. What was it? 67 cents and change. And she, of course, it pops up on the screen how much she's supposed to give me back.
Yeah.
Right? So she got the $2 part right. Like it's like 1, 2. Here's that. And then I see her looking like at the coin tray. And I waited like an uncomfortable 15 seconds, and I was like, "Hey, you have quarters, a bunch of dimes is fine." And she's like, "Which ones are the quarters?" And I'm like,
Oh, give me 6 of those quarters.
"Yeah, right. Yeah, you're supposed to give me 68 of those."
That would be fucking epic. Oh, that'd be so good. So if our 8th graders can't even read, is this the way we want to go down? Because that's what we're doing, literally. That's what we're doing. And it's pretty shitty, and it makes me and Fremo very sad. Instead
Do you know who some people would say was not a good father, but I submit that he was?
Don't say it. Don't.
Tony Soprano.
Oh my God. Okay. I come from an Italian family, so I can't even argue with that he was a decent dad per se. Like he'd do anything for his kids. Just anything that quote unquote anything is literally anything. Like maybe.
Yeah, but he
even-
also didn't cut him any slack either.
No, he didn't. He didn't. I didn't get any slack.
They were disciplined.
Correct. But instead of paying for educational items or trips to the store to get some educational STEM toys, instead, some of these fucking parents decide that spending $87,000 on a restaurant booth that the last scene from Sopranos was shot in is fucking insane. Like insane. $87,000.
You wouldn't want that in your man in the corner of
No, I would not. I would not. Because literally $87,000 I could put in the bank and help pay for my second oldest son. Oh no, my oldest son to pay for some of his college.
Okay, if you had the money to waste.
I'm still not buying a fucking booth, dude. I'm not doing it. These are the same people that think that Scarface is the best movie ever fucking made. They have giant posters in their room, probably in their bedroom. They quote, "Say hello to my little friend," all the fucking time. I see these people at work all the time. They're absolute asshats. As soon as that comes out of their mouth, like when we start talking about movies, and we've said on the show before on BGFG, there is a difference between movies and films. Go to our website, bgfgonline.com, and you'll see what we list as films. And we'll be more than happy to explain why they're films, because they change the landscape of things. Then you have generally fun movies. A movie, it veers the line.
So Scarface, movie or film?
Movie.
The Godfather, movie or film?
Film.
Exactly. There's the difference, people.
Right. That is a very good example, Free. Because this shit pisses me off so much. When I see these idiots that are like, "Dude, Scarface is the best movie I ever fucking saw." Broaden your horizon.
Right.
Okay?
What's your second favorite? Cobra?
As a Star Wars fan, I can honestly say that Episode 4 is a film. There was nothing like this before. It broke grounds on everything and made us what sci-fi is today is because of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Yeah, I mean, I would go so far as to say 4, 5, and 6 could be classified as film.
We can have a debate about that. I think 4 is definitely a film. I think the other 2 are very good sequel movies. But anyway, the other movies are trash. They're trash. As good as they are, they're trash.
They're movies.
They're movies. Starship Troopers, I think, is a film.
You think Starship Troopers is a film?
I do, because of the way they took on what our society is going through today. I enjoy a lot of Luc Besson films.
So I don't disagree with you, but here's the thing. Most people would not have picked up on the nuance of what he was saying behind the scenes.
Agreed. The whole idea
Which in and of itself makes it a film.
Right. Pull up our website and see what the films are, because Harlem Nights is a film. You might enjoy it as a movie, but it's a film because it took the black African American Harlem era in the 30s and 40s and exploited, right? Blazing Saddles did the same thing. It's comedy that's exploiting a problem that we have in society. These are films. You know, people talk about Gone with the Wind all the time. Gone with the Wind? Like, it was well shot and everything. You spent a lot of money on it, but it wasn't all that. These are films that changed the way. The Matrix, the first Matrix, is a film. It made you leave the theater and go, the fuck did I just see?
Yeah.
Those are films. And speaking of films, and Star Wars Episode 4, did you see what Anthony Daniels is doing? Like, how is this guy broke? And as I started reading
Is
it,
he broke though?
Right. That's the thing, is that the first time you see actors, especially famous actors that are in big franchises, selling off stuff, you're like, oh my God, are they out of money? That poor bastard. But let's just make sure you understand this clear. Anthony Daniels played C-3PO for over 4 decades.
40 something years.
He's the only actor that's been in every single Star Wars movie. Okay? Now, I'm not talking about Solo, a Star Wars story, or Ahsoka, or Mandalorian, or the Boba Fett series. No, I'm talking Star Wars movies. He's been in every one of them. Now, you can say R2-D2 has too. Right, R2-D2 is a robot, and after what's-his-face died, I can't remember his name, I feel bad, I apologize. But after he passed away, Anthony Daniels was the only actual physical actor that was in these series. March 12th through 14th, he'll be selling, at auction some of his collectibles and props. Now, at first, I'm like, holy shit. I know for a fact, like Samuel Jackson took his lightsaber home. I know for a fact that Liam Neeson has his actual lightsaber on a mantle, like glued, like he's never going to take it off, of his lightsaber. I know that other actors, especially in the Star Wars films, have taken shit. I know people in the Marvel universe have taken stuff that wasn't really, categorized or asset protected, and they've taken them. But that's for them, Anthony Daniels, over 40 years, has had access to a shitload of stuff. Like, who the fuck's going to act? Who's going to argue with Anthony Daniels? He claims that he's had all this stuff in storage for years. He said it's too good to throw away, but no one's looking at these things, and he felt that the fans would like them more. Okay, I can get behind that. And then I searched a little bit, and I looked for the fucking list. Not fucking impressive. Not at all.
It's not.
Anthony Daniels grabbed some bullshit, man. I only grabbed a few things to put in the show notes. He's got the head from Return of the Jedi. That's probably going to get him $1 million. The actual head from Return of the Jedi. That's going to get him like $1 million. That's the actual prop that was used. The New Hope script with the original logo of Starkiller with a laser sword. That's going to get him some cash because that's pretty hot. But then you have like Millennium Falcon random parts. Like wiring. Like nothing even significant. You have his written Ewok Village speech where he was talking about how the Death Star and talking in Ewok.
Yeah.
That speech is on a piece of paper. He's selling that. His Star Wars record collection. Again, it's a record collection. There's not a lot of great shit in there. It's kind of like the Star Trek record collection. Like Nimoy and Shatner singing. Like that's a collectible, but it's not going to get a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then the worst one out of all of the list was the repair tape. The repair tape, which was essentially Scotch tape. Or gaffer tape, if you want to call it, for lack of a better term. Gaffer tape. You have a roll of old gaffer tape? That's going to, I bet you that gets him like $4 or $5 grand.
That's insane.
I know.
Yeah, it might go. You get two people bidding on it that have the money.
Right.
Who knows where some of these things are
Right.
going?
Right.
Like, well, I'm not going to let him have that in his collection.
There's two people I've seen that are impressive, and I don't remember either one of their names. But if you do a quick Google search for anybody that's listening, you'll find them. One of them had a collection so big that he actually works for LucasArts right now. or Lucasfilms as a curator for a lot of stuff. His basement in his house is impressive. I mean, he's got actual prop replicas of like R2-D2, C-3PO, Chewbacca's outfit. He's got like the speeders. He's got a section of the Death Star that they recorded on. Like, impressive stuff. Then there's this other guy that has spent way too much money. I have to admit that going into his basement looks like walking through the Death Star. Like, he really did everything well. He's got a replica of the Emperor's chair. His collectibles are all purchasable collectibles. He's got every helmet. I mean, I have a lot of Star Wars helmets. You see some of the helmets behind me here. In my other room, I have a shit ton of Star Wars official Black Series helmets. He's got all of them. He's got prop replicas. He's got prototypes. He's got prototype action figures. He's got every lightsaber they ever made from LucasArts. Like, that's a purchasable collectible. The other guy has stuff that he's won. There's only like, for instance, the Millennium Falcon. There's 2 actual models, and they're like 10 feet wide of the Millennium Falcon. There's only 2 of them in existence. One guy was trying to sell it for like $250,000, which isn't out of the realm. But as a collector, where the fuck do you put that? It's 10 feet. My wife and I have talked about buying the Lego.
I just stayed out in the pole barn.
Pole barn. The wife and I have talked about buying like the Lego Star Destroyer. And I'm like, honey, it's as big as our dining room table that we have Sunday dinner on with 5 kids and us. Yeah. Like, it's as big as that. Where the fuck are we going to put it when it's done? It's going to be fun building it, but where are we going to put it when it's done? It takes up too much room. Now, I will say...
start eating dinner on the couch. Because obviously it's not leaving the table.
No. Anthony Daniels did keep a statue for the 40th anniversary of C-3PO, which there's been multiple versions of that, but this one's special to him, I understand. And he kept an 18-inch C-3PO leg. So as most Star Wars fans will know, they had a silver,
Lego
a gold...
statue. 18-inch C-3PO Lego statue.
Right. They had a silver one, a gold one, and a red one throughout the series of his legs. So I think that's pretty cool. So that's about all I have this week. I know we were talking about going to game for a little bit. So if you want to and you're a Stick Style fan, you can absolutely catch us. Hit us up. You can't fuck up our names on these services. Okay, just search for them.
Yeah,
they're the same names we use here. But we're going to play Helldivers. Helldivers recently did an update, which I got to fix, Fremo, by the way. So Fremo had a problem the other night where his shit wasn't working. I had to reinstall everything. I had to do the same thing. Finished the last update today, so it should work fine now. This game is again cross-platform with PlayStation. This game is again cross-platform with PlayStation. And Fremo, for most of this weekend, we're going to have access to a mech warrior.
Nice.
As a stratagem. Definitely fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely good. So we're going to be playing that for most of the afternoon, guaranteed. And that's about it. So do you have anything else this week?
Nope.
All right.
I'm about to go manage some democracy.
Yes, for freedom. That's it for this week. 10's Down, show's over.
Whoop, whoop.
So you can find more of this garbage at bgfgonline.com. You can also send us an email with your questions or suggestions at bgfgshow@gmail.com. Find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Overcast Podcast, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.